Now it's time to look at some very interesting photographs that show how sound truly has the ability to affect physical matter. This first set of photos are the work of Swiss medical doctor Hans Jenny. They show the effects of sound upon materials such as plastics, paste, dust, and water. These are the cymatics experiments conducted by Dr. Jenny in the 1970s. Cymatics is the Greek name for waveform. They demonstrate the effects of the waveforms created by different sounds to affect the actual shape of physical matter. The sound organizes the shape of the substance. Dr. Jenny did these experiments using a steel plate that was attached to a crystal oscillator through which he projected different frequencies. This first photograph is Dr. Hans Jenny doing his experiments. Here is the apparatus that he used. Dust or whatever medium that he was using was put on the steel plate. The photos you will be seeing were taken by a camera that was above the plate, shooting downward. This next photo is a plate of water being exposed to one sound frequency. Notice the extraordinary harmony and geometry being created by the sound. This next photo is the same plate of water with a different frequency. A particular sound will organize one form with a particular substance. Then the sound shifts and the cymatic patterns goes into disorganization and then reforms into another pattern based upon the new sound. This photograph is of the same water with yet one more frequency. Please keep in mind that many of the images are in reality constantly moving with the sound and are pulsing and vibrating. This photograph is of the same water with yet one more frequency. And for those of you into sacred geometry, please be aware of the different geometric forms that are created through the different sounds. Here is another frequency being projected into the water and another shape being created. In particular, please notice the diamond shape that is being created in this one. This next photo is actually a stained glass window that was created by man. And this is water with another frequency creating a form that looks very, very much like the previous slide. This is a photograph of milk being vibrated by sound. Remember that quote from the New York Times about sound having the ability to make, break, or rearrange molecular structure and levitate objects? Well, here is milk showing the first signs of overcoming gravitational fields. Here we see liquid plastic that is being vibrated by sound. It's creating a shape that looks very, very much like an underwater creature or perhaps even an angel food cake. Here we have a photo of a cell undergoing division. And now here is a sound formation, liquid plastic taking on a very similar shape. Here now the cell undergoes further mitosis or division. And here is liquid plastic exposed to a different sound taking on a very similar shape. It has been speculated that if you knew the correct resonant frequency of an object, you could create its shape. This is a photograph of the taste buds of the tongue. And here we have a photo of lycopodium dust, which is the spore of the club moss looking very, very much like the previous photo of the taste buds. Here we have the iris of the eye. And now in this next photo, these are iron filings being subjected to sound and magnetic fields taking on a very similar shape. This next photo is the yin-yang Tao symbol. And now here we have a photo of the lycopodium dust taking on a very similar shape as the yin-yang Tao sign. This is a photo of the spiral nebula, the Crab Nebula. And this next photo is said to have been the result of scientists at the Jaipur Bank Radio Laboratory in England who took the frequencies that had been received by the spiral nebula and fed them into a black box filled with nothing but dust. The dust took on the shape, the same shape as the spiral nebula. This is the Bindu, an energy center within the brain from the Hindu tradition. And this photo is a cymatic pattern looking very, very similar to that of the Bindu. In this photo, we see that sound has caused the sand to take on a shape that looks very, very much like an ancient prehistoric trilobite. Sound can be used as a Jacob's ladder to journey to different levels of consciousness, or heavens as they may be called. This photo is of the Sri Yantra, the great mandala. It was the image that the ancient rishis and wise men in the Far East came upon when they meditated upon what the Om looked like, what the shape of the Om looked like. This is the image that they basically believed the Om created. It is found in tens of thousands of temples in India and the Far East. This next photo is from an experiment performed with an instrument called a tonoscope, which, much like the cymatic instrument of Dr. Jenny, was done with sand scattered over a steel plate, but instead of a frequency being put into the plate, you have a human voice going Om, and it creates virtually the same shape as the Sri Yantra, the great mandala. What the ancient rishis visualized the Om look like. Indeed, it has been created in a laboratory, and it does look like this way. As you may know, much of my research work and training involves the use of the human voice to create change in ourselves. In particular, I focus upon vowel sounds and the power of their corresponding vocal harmonics to effect this change. These vocal harmonics have been utilized by Tibetan monks and Mongolian shamans for quite some time. I've now introduced a simplified method of making these vocal harmonics for Westerners, easy to create and receive the therapeutic benefits. The next 4 photographs are heat thermography photographs of me creating vocal harmonics. They are taken by Dr. Elizabeth Phillips, who is conducting tests on the effects of music to induce relaxation. Heat thermography measures changes in skin temperature. When a subject is relaxed, their skin temperature is raised. There seems to be a major relationship between changes in skin temperature and the organ behind or below the skin. Dr. Phillips took some photographs of me creating vocal harmonics. She did not develop these heat thermography photographs until months later. Then she excitedly called me, explaining that she had never seen such rapid changes in skin temperature. She consulted a neurologist with the heat thermography photographs. He was somewhat baffled by the rapid changes in skin temperature and wanted to know if I had been doing any visualizations while making these sounds. I said that no, I hadn't, but I had been consciously projecting the harmonics to specific portions of my brain. Dr. Phillips asked if I thought there was a possible treatment for headaches using this technique. I replied that I thought that this would be just the tip of the iceberg. This first slide here of the heat thermography photograph shows me before I began to make sounds. This next photograph was taken as I first began to create vocal harmonics. Notice the almost immediate changes in the color, especially around the forehead. The next photograph was taken as I continued making vocal harmonics. Notice again the continued changes in the color of the area around the forehead. This last photograph was taken at the conclusion of my creating vocal harmonics. Here you'll see not only continued changes in the color of the area around the forehead, but also in the sinus cavity and around the cheek area. The entire process of making sound probably took about a minute. These heat thermography photographs were taken during that time. Let's look at all these photographs together again in succession just to watch the progression of colors. They certainly indicate some powerful changes occurring through self-created sounds. I believe there is extraordinary healing possibilities with the use of vocal harmonics as a means of stimulating different portions of the brain and body.